Well, hello. It's been a while, but welcome back to That Real Estate Show. I'm so glad that you could join me today. My name is Tim, and I will be your host as we dive into all things real estate. The goal of this show is to be educational and insightful, and hopefully we have a little fun along the way. So That Real Estate Show cannot be combined with any other offer. Terms and conditions may apply, and That Real Estate Show is safe for kids, pets, and the environment. So today's episode, we're going to talk about, do a little bit more talking about politics. I know, so it's been 2 weeks. I'm glad to be back. You may notice I'm a little bit more tan. I got my hair down today. I'm feeling more relaxed. The wedding was incredible. It was an absolute perfect day. And the honeymoon was amazing. I don't know if I mentioned it, but we went on a cruise. We cruised out of Boston. We went to Nova Scotia for a day, and then we went to Bermuda for 2 days, and then back to Boston. So we had absolutely perfect weather the entire time, and just an amazing trip. I've never been on a cruise before, so that was my first time, and it was just a lot of fun. Those cruise ships definitely don't have a shortage of things to do. So I highly recommend it. If you need a vacation, book a cruise. So in today's episode, like I mentioned, we're going to talk a little bit more about politics. We talked about it in the last episode 2 weeks ago about the new bill that had been passed and how President Trump didn't want to sign the bill, and just some things related to affordability. And there's a new bill that's being proposed right now. I just saw it actually last night. I was scrolling on Facebook, and Realtor.com had posted an article about a new bill that's being proposed. It's actually a bipartisan bill, which again is impressive. As I mentioned 2 weeks ago, Democrats and Republicans can't seem to get together on a whole lot of things. So the fact that a Democrat and a Republican co-sponsored this particular bill is again pretty impressive. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about our market data, as we do in every episode. At the end, we're going to look at market data for Rocky Hill, which is 06067. And we're also going to look at the market data for Canton, which is 06019. And I was looking at my map today. We've almost covered just about every town that's within my radius. So pretty soon we're going to start overlapping. And this will be interesting because then we can compare from when we first started the show till now how the market has changed. And that's going to be some valuable information for you to see that from that snapshot in time, 12 months ago till now, what has the market done in that particular zip code? So, and I've said it before, if you have a particular area that you're interested in, if you live somewhere, maybe I haven't covered, or there's an area that you'd love to move to, or you've always had your eye on, and you want to know what's going on in that area, you want some market data for that particular zip code, let me know. I'll be happy to provide that to you. It doesn't cost you anything, just a little bit of time on your part. And, we'll get together. I'll give you that information. And if it's something, if you live there and maybe now you're thinking now's the time that you want to sell, we can develop a plan with that. Or if you're looking to buy, then we can talk about the inventory in that particular area, what's available, what your needs and wants are. We'll go over all that kind of stuff. So so we're just about there. So this bipartisan bill is called the First Time Homebuyer Empowerment Act, and it would let first-time homebuyers use up to $35,000 from a 529 college savings account towards the down payment of a home. So let me read you the article, and then we'll dive a little bit more deeper into it. So a bipartisan bill could let people use a common college savings financial tool to pay for their first house. The First Time Homebuyer Empowerment Act would let people use up to $35,000 from a 529 college savings account for a down payment on their first home. It's the latest idea in a line of congressional bills that would let Americans cut their taxes while they save for a home. So we'll go into that 529 college savings account too, in case you don't know what that is. I'll explain that to you in a minute. So Senator Michael Bennet, he's a Democrat out of Colorado, and John Husted, a Republican in Ohio, introduced the bill in the Senate. And then in the House, Representative Tracy Mann, who's a Republican, led the bipartisan group of 11 co-sponsors in the House. Quote, too many Ohioans have worked hard, saved responsibly, and still struggle to afford a down payment, Husted said. By freeing up existing resources, I'm proud this bipartisan bill gives first-time homebuyers another tool to use in pursuing their version of the American dream. A 529 educational savings account, also known as a college savings plan, is a tax-advantaged savings account for education expenses. Typically, these plans are tax-deferred, and they allow for tax-free withdrawals if they are used for tuition, fees, and supplies. Americans can use them to set aside hundreds of thousands of dollars for college or trade school. Eliminating early withdrawal tax penalties would allow Americans to use leftover 529 funds to buy a home. This bill, quote, this bill would allow first-time home buyers to use the savings they already have to cover down payment and help put home ownership within reach, Bennett said. The pitch comes on the heels of Congress passing the bipartisan 21st Century Road to Housing Act, which we talked about in the last episode, which aimed to make home ownership more affordable. Members found rare common ground as they responded to widespread anxiety that homes are out of reach for many young people. They're out of reach for everybody. I'm not going to say just young people. I think home ownership is becoming further and further out of reach for people in all segments. So the tax-free advantage, the high cost of housing has emerged as one of the few issues on which Democrats and Republicans can find meaningful common ground. It's also where both parties are trying to convince voters that they are creating solutions ahead of the midterms. So I see a little bit of politicking going on here. I kind of think that maybe some of the Democrats jumped on this just because the midterms are coming. Maybe they're up for re-election, and this is a good talking point. This is going to look good on their resume. Hey, I'm trying to lower the housing costs for you, so that's why you should vote me back into office. While the housing bill was aimed at cutting regulations and red tape, that's that 21st Century Road to Housing bill that we talked about, that drive up the cost of building new housing, another set of bills also takes aim at ways in which taxes and penalties eat into American savings and prevent them from using some of their money to buy a home. The National Association of Realtors, which I am a member of, has lobbied for a change to the capital gains tax scheme. That could allow longtime homeowners to sell their homes without paying taxes on their profits. I don't think you should be paying taxes on your profits to begin with. That's ridiculous. So you're going to get punished because you bought a home 50 years ago or 30 years ago or 20 years ago or 10 years ago, whatever it is. And because housing costs go up, housing always appreciates over time. It's not like your vehicle that depreciates. When you drive it off the lot, it's immediately no longer worth what you had paid for it. Housing typically and historically, it goes on the rise. It always goes up, so it appreciates in value. Why should you be punished for that? You made a smart investment, and you should be able to reap the rewards. Keep the profits from being able to sell that house. Why should you have to pay capital gains in the first place? That's just a money grab from the government, if you ask me. But anyway. The Trump administration also briefly considered allowing Americans to pull from 401ks for a down payment without incurring the usual penalty. It later stepped back from that idea. A few states, including Virginia and Colorado, have set up special savings accounts for first-time home buyers that will allow them to accrue tax benefits while they save for their first home. The college savings account is an already existing tool for letting Americans avoid tax bills for big investments. Bill Kilmer, Senior Vice President of Legislative and Political Affairs at the Mortgage Bankers Association, says the proposed bill is, quote, a common sense solution that empowers first-time homebuyers to use their own savings at no cost to taxpayers. Down payment hurdles continue to block many families from owning a home, he adds. So, yeah, this is great. I like this. I like this idea. I got to say, though, that doesn't help you and me because, I'm 51 years old. I'll be 52 in January. And my mother back in the day, I don't even think when I was a kid there was a 529 college savings plan. But if there was, my mom being a single mom, raising her son by herself, she couldn't afford to put extra money aside for my college tuition. So that doesn't help. Like I said, that doesn't help you or me. But if you have a young child, that actually might be something of benefit. They proposed this bill. It hasn't been passed. It hasn't passed the House or the Senate. So it's just been proposed. It's on the table. And, it hasn't come before President Trump yet. So we'll have to keep our eye on this and see if this progresses and gets anywhere. So in Connecticut specifically, the Connecticut Higher Education Trust, or CHET, is a state-sponsored, tax-advantaged 529 college savings plan managed by Fidelity Investments. It features 0 annual account fees, no minimum opening deposit, state income tax deductions up to $5,000 for single filers and $10,000 for joint filers. So that means you could contribute $5,000 if you're single, $10,000 if you're a married couple to that, which would lower your tax burden, right? So if you're looking for a way to decrease the amount of taxes that you have to pay at the end of the year, that's a good option. And tax-free withdrawals for qualified education expenses nationwide. So some of the core benefits, tax deductions, like we just talked about. CT taxpayers can deduct contributions from state income taxes with a 5-year carry forward allowed for excess amounts. Tax-free growth, earnings grow deferred and are completely free from federal and state taxes when used for qualified expenses. Baby scholar bonus. The state deposits $100 into that chet account if opened before the child turns 1. And flexible usage, funds apply to accredited colleges, universities, trade schools, vocational programs, K through 12 tuition, and certain apprenticeship programs or Roth IRA rollovers. So there's no minimum fees. Opening and maintaining an account via the Chet 529 plan portal costs nothing. And there's a link there. So if you just Google it, if you just type in 529 college savings, Connecticut, you'll find that link. Investment choices, options include age-based portfolios that adjust automatically as the child grows, or custom static portfolios. So that kind of gives you a little bit of idea of what that is. So this is going to help maybe in 20 years when your kid who is 1 now, if you create that account today and you put money into it faithfully every month and let it grow until they're 18, and then they can use it for their college expenses. And I love that the 529, it goes for vocational schools as well. We know that there are millions of kids who have these college degrees now that they can't find jobs in their chosen field, while there are literally tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of open trade positions that are not being filled. So plumbers, electricians, HVAC, contractors, things like that. There, we have a deficit. I think I read somewhere that for every 5 people that retire, there are only 2 people that come back into that field. So I wanted to bring that up because I thought that was interesting. Again, another way for the future generation to be able to help afford housing. But there's steps that we need to take right now. There are things that we need to do right now. And, we can talk about supply and demand. That's kind of like a law, right? We know the law of supply and demand. The more demand there is for something, the higher the price, or the scarcity of that item, the higher the price. And so this is what we're finding right now. 5 years ago, COVID hit, and that pretty much shut the country down for like 2 years. So now we're trying to play catch up. And here we are, 6 years later, and we're not really getting anywhere. And there's a couple of different reasons for that, right? Government red tape, bureaucracy, how difficult it is, how expensive it is to build, the hoops that people have to jump through in order to get permits and, to get projects going, but also inventory, right? We've talked about it 100 times. Inventory is low, buyer demand is still high, and that's driving up prices. So how do we fix that? Well, I think one thing, and this is where the politics comes in, one thing that we didn't address 2 weeks ago that we need to address now is illegal immigration or undocumented workers, whatever you want to call them, people who have come into the country in a way other than the legal process, right? So whatever you want to call that, what do you think that does to the housing market? If you have 10 million people who don't belong here, and again, I'm going to stop right now and just say, I'm not against immigration. I love immigration. I think, we should, welcome people here. That's kind of what our country was founded on. And yeah, America is a great place. And I don't blame people for wanting to come here, because America is the only place, or one of the only places, that they're going to have the opportunity to better themselves. Our country is diverse because of legal immigration. We have the fabric that's woven together of our nation because of all these different cultures, but they've come together for that common purpose. So America is free. We have our free enterprise system, and this gives you the opportunity to better yourself, to create something, to build a business. So why are we trying to undermine that? Why are we trying to destroy that? And again, back to my original point is with supply and demand. If you have a lot of illegal immigration, if you have people here, and it's not that I don't want them here, like I said before, I support immigration, but do it the right way. Do it the legal way. Don't just come here and expect handouts and live off the government. And I said it 2 weeks ago, we need less government. We don't need more government. That's part of the problem, because the more government we have, the higher our taxes are. So if we could eliminate some of the government programs or reorganize them in some way so that it lessened the tax burden, then that would give more people money to put in their pocket, to put in their savings account, to be able to then afford a house. So it all is interconnected. And we talked about it 2 weeks ago, how real estate is not really immune to the things that go on around us. It actually reflects the things that are going on in our country. So if you want your rent to come down, if you want housing prices to come down, we need the people who are here illegally, who are undocumented, to go back to where they came from and then do it again. Do it the right way. Because these people who are here, so they're taking jobs away from American citizens, they're taking housing away from American citizens, and American citizens are having to pay the price for it. So this may be controversial too. You may not like what I just said, and that's your right. If you have a different opinion about that, that's okay. We can talk about it and we can come to some sort of agreement, even if that agreement is we agree to disagree. But the bottom line is that it does have an effect, right? The more people you have in this country, the fewer the resources you have, which again, we're talking specifically about housing, right? Because this is a real estate show. So we have just so many places you can live. So you've got, and we talked about this 2 weeks ago too, where you've got corporations buying up single family houses. That shouldn't be happening either. Those single family houses should be sold to families or individuals who are starting a family, so that they can live there and it's not being owned by a corporation. So again, controversial, I know, not a popular position, not a popular topic. And I have nothing against individuals, nothing against the person. This is just, you have to do things the right way. But again, these are issues that affect housing costs. So if you want your housing costs to go down, if you want your taxes to go down, if you want the cost of a home that you want to be able to purchase, if you want to be able to purchase more house for less money, then some of these things need to change. Taxes need to change. Affordability needs to change. Immigration needs to change. Now, and just one more thing, just one more point I want to make on that. If you look at videos from the 90s of Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton and Chuck Schumer and all these people who are now screaming against, ICE and abolish the police and all this other stuff. You know what? It's funny because 35 years ago, 40 years ago, they were saying the exact opposite. And, if you want, I can provide you with links to some videos that I've seen that, Hillary Clinton, even on her campaign trail, she was preaching that illegal immigrants should pay a stiff fine, that they should be made to learn English, that they should have to, do certain pay back taxes and wait their turn. And the crowd roared in excitement over that. And now here we are 30 years later, and the Democrats are singing the exact opposite tune. So I kind of wish they would just, pick a side and stick with it. It only seems like they only want to abolish ICE when there's a Republican in the White House, and when there's a Democrat in the White House, then ICE is doing a good job. I know you've probably seen it on Facebook. I've seen it many times where Barack Obama was given Tom Homan a medal. So Tom Homan is now the head of immigration of ICE, and now everyone's booing him. It doesn't make any sense. They flip-flop on policies just whenever it suits them. And so this is why we got to end career politicians. We have to put term limits on these people so that they can only do just so much damage, and then it's time for them to go. So that's it. I'm not going to talk about that anymore. I want to see you get into a house. If you are in the market and you are looking to buy a house, I want to see that happen. And the only way that that's going to happen is if we clean up some of the mess that's been made. So I found this on Facebook. I saved it for a while and I decided to post it today. And that's by Chris Smith. I've told you about him before. I follow him on Facebook. He gives a lot of good content that he has out there. And he says, if you still need a reason to never buy a house without a buyer's agent, an agent I know got a call last week. Her buyer ghosted her after 5 months of showings and 3 failed offers. Went straight to the listing agent to, quote, save on commission. 3 weeks later, he called her. The listing agent told me to waive inspection. Now there's $40,000 in foundation issues and the seller won't return my calls. Can you help? Let me get this straight. You fired the only person at the table who worked for you to save 2.5% on a $400,000 house. That's 10 grand. The person who told you to waive the inspection, she works for the seller. Your $10,000 savings just cost you $40,000. She hasn't called them back. I already told her what to say. So, and I know I've made this point multiple times. You wouldn't perform surgery on yourself if you needed your appendix out, or if you had to, I don't know, if you had some sort of surgery that you needed, you wouldn't do that yourself. You would go to a doctor to have that done. Most people who are intelligent enough, they know that if they go to court, they hire a lawyer. So for whatever that case may be, whatever the issue is, they don't represent themselves. They hire an attorney, someone who knows the law, someone who can represent them. The old adage, the quote as there is, the person who represents himself has a fool for a client. And the same argument can be made for people who want to buy a house and not use an agent. If and it's not that you're dumb. I'm not saying that you're dumb. I'm not saying that you don't have the mental capacity or the fortitude to do it. But you have to have somebody outside the transaction who's not emotionally invested, who can lay out the terms and protect you. I've said it before. My biggest job, my fiduciary responsibility to you is to protect you and to make sure that you get the best deal possible with terms and conditions that are within your budget, that you can afford, that you agree with, and to make sure you avoid pitfalls like this. So saving that 2.5%, like I said, first of all, too, why would you want to work with the listing agent? That's like trying to hire the DA to defend you in the case that he's trying to prosecute you for. So that makes no sense, right? Because the listing agent, his first responsibility is to his seller. So he's going to do what's in the seller's best interest, not your best interest. So exactly what happened right here. They said, oh, you don't need an inspection. Waive the inspection. So they're doing what they need to do for their seller. Now, does that mean that maybe they knew something was wrong with the foundation? Possibly. Did they fill out the property condition disclosure? It doesn't say. So we can only speculate. So perhaps they didn't. Maybe they didn't fill out the property condition disclosure because you don't really have to. It's a $500 credit at closing if you don't fill one out. But it is recommended that sellers do that, but maybe they didn't. So that's just proving the point that realtors exist for a reason. Real estate agents exist for a reason. So take that for what it's worth. So now here we are into the last part of the show. We're going to look at here the market data for August on 06067, which is Rocky Hill. You can see that the median list price is down almost 8%. So it's $342,950. And again, that median price is that middle number, right? It's not the average. It's that middle number. So between 1 and 10, the middle number is 5. So $342,950 is that middle number for what houses are being listed for. There are only 14 active listings, which is down about 30% from July. And there's only one new listing. I actually grabbed this data this morning. So this is fresh off the press. There's one new listing in the last 5 days. And that median days on market is now up 20% to 30 days. But that's still pretty quick. Again, that's, you're under contract and you're going to closing within a month. That's really fast. Normally, in the average or the expectation there is anywhere between 45 and 60 days to close, depending on your lender, how fast they get things done, how prepared you are, how much work you've done ahead of time, because you can always get all that underwriting stuff done ahead of time. You can provide them with your pay stubs and your W-2s and all that stuff and get everything all set to go even before you go under contract, so they can close even faster. And that's, again, that's an important piece of why it's, you should talk to multiple lenders, because some lenders move faster than others. Some have more steps that you have to go through, longer underwriting period or whatever. So, using a local trusted lender is sometimes better than just going with the big guys, Bank of America or Chase or Wells Fargo or Rocket Mortgage. Again, nothing against them, but sometimes with a bigger bank, you have to go through multiple people. Your file gets handed off at different stages of the game to different people. So it's hard to know who to get a hold of. And sometimes, on the weekends, if something's going sideways, it's impossible to reach somebody on a Saturday or a Sunday. So that's why I always recommend a local trusted lender. William Ravis, we actually do mortgages in office. So we actually have our mortgage lender who's in-house, who is available, 7 days a week. So just throwing that out there. And now going on to the market report for Canton, which is 06019. You see that median price has also dropped about 20%, almost 21.5% from July to 482,450. There are 6 active listings, which is down 50%. So that could be for different reasons, right? Either they've had closings, people have closed on those listings, and you can see that there's no new listings in the last 5 days. So either people's houses have sold and they're off the market now, or maybe they expired, or maybe they decided just to take them off the market for a while, because we are now in the middle of August. And so school's going to be starting soon. So maybe people who had their houses on the market decided, well, let's pull it off now and then relist it in January, because school's about to start. Maybe they have kids who are school age and they don't want to have to move right at the beginning of school. So, but there are 6 active listings, and you can see that median days on market is up 22.5% to 49 days. So again, that's about that average, right? That's what I would expect, anywhere between 45 and 60 days. Again, depending on your lender and how quickly they move and how prepared you are. But if you are interested in Rocky Hill, if you live in Rocky Hill, or if you are interested in moving to Canton, or if you live in Canton and you'd like to know what your house is worth, maybe you're thinking of selling, maybe next year's the year, maybe your child's getting ready to graduate high school or even graduate college, and they're going to be moving out on their own. And so maybe it's time to downsize, or maybe you've just graduated recently. Maybe you found someone that you want to settle down with and you want to buy a house. So if that's your case, let me know. Shoot me a text, send me an email. I forgot to put my banner up on the screen, so let me do that right now. There's my email address. There's my cell phone number. Our web address is oneteamct.com. You can email me, text me, call me. I'll be happy to talk with you, figure out your strategy for either listing your house. If time is now where you want to start getting ready to list, we can go over that information. Or if you're looking to move to those areas and you want specific information on those active listings, let me know. I'll be happy to send them to you. I can set you up with an automatic search to the MLS. This is a great thing. You can bypass all the malarkey that you get with Zillow and Redfin and Realtor.com and Opendoor and all these other places that don't update their sites in real time. That's the most frustrating thing I think I've ever come across with sites like Zillow and the Realtor.com and Redfin, Opendoor, is because it takes hours, sometimes days, before things update on their system. And you may be looking at a house that shows active and you're like, oh, this is perfect. This is just what I was looking for. It's right around the corner from my parents. I can keep an eye on them. Or it's, 2 towns over from my parents so they can stop bugging me, whatever the case may be. And then you click on it and you email me only to find out that it's already under contract. And maybe the listing agent just didn't update it right away, or the system hasn't updated because, again, these websites are a third-party website. So they get their information. The IDX comes from the MLS. So, and again, the MLS is the multiple listing service, which is where all realtors and real estate agents post their listings Now, they don't always post their listings because there's an old saying out there that not everything online is for sale and not everything for sale is online. So maybe a listing agent was directed not to put their client's house on the MLS because they don't want the attention. Maybe they don't want their neighbors knowing that they're getting ready to sell. So they kind of keeping it on the low, on the down low, and they don't want it listed on MLS. So, but that's why having a realtor like me is valuable, because we have access to things that you may not see, and we may know things that you're not going to see online. So if we set you up, I can set you up for an automatic search on the MLS, which is going to give you real-time data in whatever particular area, zip code, county, town that you are looking to move to. And it will give you the listings that come available that meet your criteria. And the best part about that, I've said it multiple times, the best part about it is that if something is already under contract and you're bummed because you missed out on it, or you saw it at an open house, but you just didn't get your offer in on time because you didn't have an agent or whatever the case may be, if that house becomes available again, if the deal falls through and that listing becomes active again, you will get a real-time notification that, hey, that 123 Main Street that you had your eye on is now available again on the market. So let me know, give me a call, shoot me a text. We can, like I said, we can go over that information. I can do a free comparative market analysis for you to let you know what your house could be worth if you decided to sell. We can talk through that. We can develop a strategy on when to list your house. When is the best time for you? You know, that's the great thing about real estate, is that it's so uniquely different to each individual. What is right for you may not be right for somebody else. The timing, you know, is going to be completely specific to you and what your needs are, what your goals are. So those are the two zip codes that we've looked at. So I wanted to show you that the wedding was beautiful. We had a perfect day. The sun was shining. It wasn't too hot. Right down there at Harkness Memorial Park in Waterford. It did rain a little bit right before the wedding, so I was a little concerned about that. It was starting to give me some anxiety because I was hoping it wasn't going to be raining during the actual ceremony, but it didn't. It cleared up as we were getting prepared. And there's my beautiful wife, Christina. She was just absolutely gorgeous in her dress. The day was perfect. And, you know, like I said, we had just the most amazing honeymoon. The cruise was awesome. So if you have questions, I have answers. Don't forget to go to our sponsor, W.GG. They make energy drinks. So if you are a gamer, or you know a gamer, if your kid's a gamer and you drink a lot of coffee, or you drink a lot of Red Bull or Monsters, but you don't like all the jitters and the crash that you get from all that caffeine, try W. I've been drinking it now for a while. It tastes really good, and it gives you that caffeine fix without the crash and without the jitters. There's no sugar in it. And like I said, it tastes really good. So I have a little tumbler that I bought from them with my mix. I mix it up and drink it, and it tastes really good, and it beats coffee. I mean, sometimes coffee is great. I drink coffee too, but sometimes just too much coffee, you know, you just kind of get sick of it. So I highly recommend it. If you go to W.GG, which is their website, and you place an order, if you use the promo code That Real Estate Show with the exclamation point, you get 10% off. So that's all we have time for today. Thank you so much for joining me. If you're watching us on Facebook or YouTube or Instagram, or if you have joined us on Spotify, Rumble, if you're watching us on OBBM Network TV, thank you so much. Don't forget to like us, follow us. If you need our handles, if you want to know what our tags are, let me know. I'll send you the links to our X page or our Instagram page or our Facebook page. Don't forget to follow. Don't forget to like, and especially don't forget to share. Let people know in your circle. Maybe you know somebody who's looking to buy or sell, and maybe they're not really sure where to turn or what their next steps would be. Give them my number. Let them know if you do that. If you send in a comment or a question, I'll send you one of my That Real Estate Show stickers. This way to go. That way. That Real Estate Show. We got That Real Estate Show stickers. Send you one of those. And, I'm here to help. That's really what it comes down to. The paycheck is always nice, right? But the satisfaction that I get is from helping people achieve their dream of home ownership. And if, you know, that's transitioning into another phase of life, maybe that's downsizing or upsizing because you're having new kids or whatever. I love just being a part of that and seeing the joy on people's faces when they go to the closing table and they get those keys for the first time. And I'm the first one to be able to congratulate them on buying a new home. That's a really special feeling. So again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again next time.